everyone, welcome back to Christian's Quarantine Kitchen. Today we are going to be making fried chicken, which is one of my favorite dishes ever. It's really good. It's good with pretty much anything, so you can just do fried chicken on its own, or you can do Nashville hot chicken, which I'll be showing you how to make today, fried chicken sandwiches, or even fried chicken and waffles. So we're gonna get started now with our spice blend. This particular spice blend has a lot of spices, most of which you probably have in your spice cabinet anyway, but kind of feel free to experiment with this. It's really whatever you like and whatever you have on hand. So for this spice blend, we're gonna start with 1 tablespoon of dried oregano. We're also going to do 1 tablespoon of any salt, 1/2 teaspoon of celery seed, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of paprika. You can use hot or sweet paprika, either one is okay. A 1/2 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, a teaspoon of ground dried parsley, a teaspoon of dried rosemary, a teaspoon of dried thyme, a tablespoon of black pepper, and finally a 1/2 teaspoon of fennel seed. And we're just gonna mix all of these spices together. And this is what's going to flavor our chicken. So now we're gonna get started with our flour mixture, which we are going to bread the chicken in. So this is just a 50-50 mixture of AP flour and cornstarch. So what the cornstarch does is it creates the really crispy crust that you want on the fried chicken. So in here is 1.5 cups of regular all-purpose flour and then 1.5 cups of the cornstarch. Other substitutes for cornstarch, if you don't have that, would be rice flour times potato starch, which would also give you that crispiness that you need. So now to our flour, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of our spice blend. Make sure you kind of stir it around because some of like the bigger spices like the fennel seed and the rosemary will all go on the top. We're gonna save the rest of the spice mixture and we're just gonna put that to the side. So we're gonna whisk our 2 flours together with our spices. So now we're gonna move on to prepare the chicken. So here I have some boneless, skinless chicken thighs. If you don't wanna use chicken thighs, you can also use chicken breast. You're just a little bit more prone to having them dry out while they're frying in the oil, so you want to really monitor the temperature. So we're going to take our remaining spice mixture and we're just going to sprinkle that right onto the chicken. We're going to flip the pieces over, trying to just get an even coating. Many fried chicken recipes have the chicken sit in buttermilk for a long time before you cook them, but I find that this is much quicker. And it's simple. To dredge our chicken, we're going to do a 5-step process. So we have here 1.5 cups of milk. You can use buttermilk. Regular milk works just as fine. So we're going to do 5 steps. So we're going to do chicken into the flour first. Then we're going to go milk, and then flour, and then milk again, and then finally one more time in the flour, and then we're gonna put it on another clean plate. So we get started, just 1 piece of chicken, just kind of coat it in the flour. This is just so all the spices stick to the chicken. Just kind of shake off the excess. I like to keep one hand dry, into the milk, then back into the flour again. Just kind of cover the chicken in flour, and then just shake off, remember to shake off the excess because you don't want to be biting into big clumps of flour. Then we're going to go into the milk again. And then we're going to go back into our flour. And this is just to ensure that the chicken is really crispy and really crunchy, because that's really what you're looking for with fried chicken. Remember, shake off the flour, and then that's it. And then we're just gonna go through and do that with all the pieces of the chicken. So here is my frying station setup. So we have the chicken here. In here we have about 1.5 inches of oil. I'm using just a mixture of canola oil and olive oil. You can use pretty much any neutral oil. I wouldn't fry in purely olive oil, but any kind of oil like canola, vegetable, or grapeseed oil is good for frying. I have here a oil thermometer, which is also a candy thermometer. That's just to keep temperature of the oil. If you don't have one of those, one of these will also work, which is just an infrared thermometer. What you can't use as a thermometer to check the oil temperature is a digital thermometer. It's just the heat is too high that it would be inaccurate. Then over here, I have my slotted spoon to take the chicken out when it's done. If you don't have one of these, you can use tongs. I would just use ones that have rubber tips so that you don't pull all the breading off the chicken. And then we have here a rack on top of a baking sheet, which is some paper towel to soak up any of the oil that drips off. So we're gonna start now by heating up our oil. I wouldn't put your gas to the highest temperature, or if you're an electric stove, I wouldn't put it up to the highest power, because you wanna be able to control the temperature and easily be able to lower it or increase it depending on the temperature of the oil. This is gonna take a few minutes. We're looking for it to reach about 275 degrees Fahrenheit. So it should take about 3 to 4 minutes depending on how thick the pan is. So now we're gonna just check to see if our oil is to temp. It's been about 4 minutes. All right, so we're at 287, which is perfect. Just to double check, I like to take just a little pinch of flour or the breading, just kind of put it in the oil, and you see how it's sizzling there. So that's when you know the oil's hot enough for the chicken. So you can do this with tongs. I'm comfortable doing it with my hands just because I've done it so many times before. And you're just gonna lay the chicken gently flat in the pan. It's important that you don't overcrowd the pan because we want the oil to remain hot. So I'm only gonna be doing about 3 pieces at a time. So now that the chicken's in, I find it important to check the temperature again of the oil to make sure. If it's getting too hot or if it cooled down when you put the chicken in, just adjust it so that it comes back to normal. It's okay to fluctuate, but we don't want it to go much higher than 300 or much lower than 275. So after about 3 minutes of the chicken cooking, we're gonna flip it over. So just carefully kind of scoop underneath it, because we don't want to pull all the breading off. So we're going to flip this over, and it's going to take probably another 3 to 4 minutes to cook. But to check the temperature, we are going to be taking the temperature with our meat thermometer, which you should always have on hand, especially when you're cooking chicken. After those 3 to 4 minutes, we're gonna flip it again and let it go just until it reaches temperature, which for chicken is 165 degrees. Now that this batch of chicken is out of the oil, we're just gonna let it sit so that all the oil drains off for about 10 minutes. Now to make Nashville hot chicken, which is basically just a spicy sauce that goes on the chicken, we're gonna do it with one teaspoon of cayenne. So this is definitely spicy. If you don't want it as hot, you can go with half a teaspoon, or if you want it even hotter, of course you can go with more. And then we're gonna also add a half a teaspoon of paprika, again hot or sweet. And then to this, we're gonna just add a ladleful of the hot oil that we fried the chicken in. So it's important that the oil is hot so that it kind of dissolves all the spices. And we're just gonna stir all that together so that it melts. You can already smell it. It's gonna make my eyes water. It already smells spicy. And then we're just gonna toss the chicken in this sauce and then serve it on top of bread with a slice of pickle if you want. If you don't like hot chicken, we're gonna work on another sauce that you can also put to make a fried chicken sandwich. We're gonna start with about 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. We're going to add about, I would say, 3 tablespoons of pickle juice. We're gonna just mix that together. We are also going to add 1/4 teaspoon of paprika. And if you want, you can add a little bit of cayenne if you want a little bit of kick to it, but that's optional. We're just gonna mix all that together. And then this is a good sauce just to put over the chicken. I recommend this, as I said, in a fried chicken sandwich, which is good with just iceberg lettuce, some sliced tomato, and some pickle.